Alright, time for the yearly quarterly review, where I take a look at how drivers are doing so far relative to their expectations at the start of the year. The fact that we got an off week right as the first quarter of the season wrapped up is all the more perfect. As always, I will be doing this for the Cup Series only, but because Xfinity and Trucks have been more eventful than usual and the playoff standings across all three series are especially close so far this year, I'm gonna mention a few drivers that have caught my attention on both series first before we move on into the Cup Series. So for Xfinity, the drivers that have surprised me thus far are the smaller mid-pack teams, most notably Ryan Sieg, Jeb Burton and his younger cousin Harrison Burton, as well as Dean Thompson. I'll admit, I wasn't really high on him to start the season, but so far he's managed to hold steady, 3 top 10s in 10 races, even won a stage at Rockingham last week, currently sitting top 15 in points, within striking distance of a playoff spot. And while I still don't think he will make the playoffs, I gotta give credit where credit is due. He's holding steady so far. He's currently ahead of guys like Christian Eckes, Nick Sanchez, and even the 2 JGR rookies in Taylor Gray and Swalich. That's right, Dean Thompson is arguably the second best Toyota so far this season. And speaking of the Gibbs Young Guns, they're not doing so hot. Yeah, at least for Taylor Gray, he's shown flashes, and you can argue he should have won Martinsville, and him getting wrecked out is probably the main reason why he's below the cut line. But still, if you're driving a Gibbs Toyota, you should not be below the cut line almost halfway through the regular season. There's a reason why I had these two guys making it into the playoffs, even if I was a little bit iffy when I made that prediction at first. I had them making it in the end because they're driving some of the best cars in the field. And don't even get me started on William Swalich. I'm just gonna keep this short and sweet. So far, he's been the biggest disappointment across all 3 national series, because how are you behind the wheel of a Gibbs car and getting outpointed by guys like Brennan Poole and Matt DiBenedetto? Hell, Parker Retzlaff failed to qualify for COTA, and he's higher in points than William by a pretty sizable margin. I believe it's 40 points, despite missing a race. Yeah, that's how bad it's going. And I cannot even say it's just bad luck, because he's had races where he's run poorly, or in the case of Bristol and last week at Rockingham, he shot himself in the foot and thrown away what could have been back-to-back top 10s. So yeah, pretty rough start for the rookie. There's plenty of time to turn things around, yes, but at the moment it's not looking good. Now for the Truck Series, the 2 biggest surprises so far have been Tyler Ankrum and Jake Garcia. I did not expect both of these guys to be arguably the most consistent drivers on their respective teams, or in Ankrum's case, looking like a title contender. I thought Daniel Hemrick would fill that role of veteran leader on the team, and while he's been solid, he's looking more like a number 2 when you compare him and Tyler side by side. As for Garcia, yeah, he may not be the best driver on the Thor Sports table, but again, you can argue he's been the most consistent. Majeski has struggled to finish races in the past couple of weeks. Ben Rhodes is fighting for his playoff life right now, and Matt Crafton looks like he should just probably retire. I never would have expected Jake Garcia to grow into that glue guy role so quickly, especially after the disappointing campaign he had last year. Ironically, he's running how I thought he would perform last season, because I had him making the playoffs in 2024, but not this year. So I'm really happy to see him having a bounce back year. On the other hand, I cannot say the same about Raja Karuth and Tony Bredinger. For Raja, I had him as a dark horse title contender, and while he's bounced back after crashing out in the first 2 races, he's still outside the playoff bubble. And again, while I do expect him to eventually make up the gap, because he's not that far off, he's still top 15 in points. But he's not looked like the dark horse I thought he would be at the beginning of the year. As for Tony Bredinger, I don't think I need to elaborate much on her. She only has 1 lead lap finish so far this season. And just this past week at Rockingham, she scored her first top 20 finish. 7 races in, and she is below Spencer Boyd, Bailey Curry, who's running part-time by the way, and Matt Mills in points. And she's only 5 points ahead of Frankie Muniz, well, driving for Tricon and being teammates with the current points leader, Corey Heim. Honestly, she might be an even bigger disappointment than Sawalich, and if you think she is, go ahead, but personally, I'm still going with William because I had high expectations for him, whereas for Tony, I didn't have her even making the playoffs. I just thought she would be in the back half of the top 20 all season long, but funny thing is, she hasn't even come close to that. Even when I don't expect much, she still manages to disappoint me. Again, she's driving a Tricon car, or truck. She's driving a Tricon truck, the same truck that Corey Heim is leading the points with. She's teammates with the points leader and she's struggling. But anyways, with that out of the way, we can finally move on to our main course. As always, I will try my best to go in numerical order, but no guarantees. So, let's start with Ross Chastain. Right now, solidly in the playoff hunt. What can I say? We are more or less right where I expected you to be. Let's see. Austin Cindric, because we're trying to go in numerical order here. Cindric, I guess he's become a force on super speedways, in addition to his road course racing prowess. Again, if it wasn't for that 50-point penalty at COTA, he would be solidly above the cut line. He's been running in the top 10 more often and leading laps in the process as well. I'll say, if it wasn't for the COTA penalty, people would be talking more about him, but he's been low-key a surprise this season, I'll argue. The other Austin Dillon, you could argue he's been a disappointment because he's outside the top 25 in points yet again. But at this point, it is what it is with him. I don't even bother expecting anything out of him. See, Noah Gragson. Yeah, let's just put up the single-digit guides here. I don't really know why when I generated this, they put all of that like in numerical order. Well, it technically did, but not the single-digit numbers, so let's just arrange them here, and there we go. Okay. Noah Gragson. I'm not gonna lie, Gragson has been low-key a disappointment. I understand he's driving what is essentially a third front-row car, but still, that's no excuse for you to be 32nd in points, dude. Larson, yeah. No surprise there. Brad Keselowski, the second biggest disappointment of the season. While his two teammates are in the playoff hunt, those being Buescher and Ryan Preece, Brad has been anything but. Sitting outside the top 30 in points, he's yet to score a top 10 this year so far. Season's looking to be his worst since 2010. When he started racing full-time in Cup. Now, obviously, from an owner-driver's perspective, I don't think Keselowski cares that much because he's an owner-driver. Like I said, I feel he's pretty close to retirement. I don't think he's going to be racing by 2030. I think he might be in retirement or even sooner than that. So from an owner-driver's perspective, I don't think Keselowski cares because he's got Chris Buescher and Ryan Preece on his stable. But from a driver's perspective, You're 31st. You're sitting 31st in points after making the playoffs last year. Yeah, I'm gonna be looking at you as a massive disappointment. Justin Haley, how has this 7 team not imploded yet is beyond me. They lost their car chief. They swapped their entire pit crew a few weeks ago, and now they just let Rodney Childers go, which I'm still trying to make sense of it. Justin, maybe 20, 30 points right now, and you could argue that's a surprise in and of itself. But I'm putting them here because I'm expecting a downfall now. I'll be surprised if this team even manages to stay in the top 30 for the rest of the year. It's a tough scene over there. Kyle Busch, yeah. Chase Elliott, Some people will make the case that he's been a disappointment because he has not shown race-winning speed at all. But to be fair, he's Hendrick's number 3 guy at this point, okay? I don't think we should hold him to the same expectations that we had 3 or 4 years ago, when he was still a bona fide title contender. Ty Dillon, his current position in the point standings may not do him justice, but if you watch the races, you'll be surprised by how often he's been running and finishing in the top 20. Hell, he almost finessed the top 10 at Phoenix before he got a speeding penalty. So yeah, it's been another one of those low-key surprises for me. Denny Hamlin, you could argue he's been surprising because he's managed to make Chris Gale look like a competent crew chief when everyone thought that Hamlin's winning days were over. But to be fair, that was a bit of an overreaction on their part because Hamlin, he's had several different crew chiefs throughout his career and he's won with all of them. So him managing to win with Chris Gale is not surprising at all to me. As a matter of fact, I think Chris Gale being paired with a veteran driver might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. Now, of course, the jury's still out on whether he'll be able to carry this early season momentum into another Championship 4 appearance, but so far so good. They're holding steady. Ryan Blaney, so far, he's the only guy that has this Gen 7 car completely figured out, it seems, because he's been able to pass other cars under green, both on the short run, but especially in the long run, when everyone else struggles to even get close to them. And even if he doesn't necessarily get the finishes I think he deserves, for the most part, they're not his fault. They have been like engine failures or him getting caught up in other people's mess. But when he is running, he's running fast, and he's usually finishing in the top 5 or competing for a win. So yeah, just for the fact that he has this Gen 7 car figured out and he's able to make passes out of it when everyone else struggles to even get close to the car in front of them, yeah, Blaney has been surprising. AJ Allmendinger. Despite finishing 41st in the Daytona 500, he's bounced back and has put Kaulig in playoff conversations. Kaulig as a whole has been on an upswing this season in both Cup and Xfinity, but mostly Cup compared to the past 2 years. Yeah, Allmendinger has been one of those low-key surprises to me. Both Kaulig cars have been surprising, especially in their Cup series. Their Xfinity program has been solid as always, but it's their Cup program that has really caught my attention. Chris Buescher, not much to say about you. Chase Briscoe, if that 100-point penalty wasn't overturned, I would have you somewhere down here. But since it was, and since you're now, above the cut line or like in the playoff bubble, I guess I'm just gonna drop you here. Christopher Bell. The fact that he became the first driver in the Gen 7 era to win 3 races in a row, and the fact that he accomplished it this early on, it's the main reason I have him here. I was not expecting anyone to win 3 races in a row for a good while with the issues this car has, but good on Bell for opening that lid. Denny Hamlin almost did, but he finished second at Bristol. Kyle Larson put a stop to that, so yeah. Bell has been arguably one of the biggest surprises of the season simply because of how many wins he's been able to accumulate. I had him winning like 3 or 4 races this year, but now that he got 3 this early on, I think he can win upwards to 5 or 6. And he could maybe win the title. I know William Byron was my championship pick, but Bell, I had Bell as my number 2 guy just in case, and he's looking like the number 1. So yeah. Josh Berry, again, like I've alluded to, biggest surprise of the season so far in my opinion. And it's not just due to the fact that he won Las Vegas, but he's shown speed on both qualifying and race day at several different tracks. He qualified well at Atlanta. He qualified and ran in the top 5 at Phoenix. He qualified in the front row at Homestead. Martinsville, he was leading before he got that battery issue that put him, like, I don't know, multiple laps down. We knew that he would be an upgrade over Harrison Burton, but not by this much. Joey Logano. Only one top 10 through 9 races, but a boatload of stage points to make up for it. Also, this is an odd year. I don't expect anything from Joey Logano in odd year, so yeah. Let's see. Bubba Wallace. Every year, it seems like he's adding something new to his racecraft. Because when he first joined 23XI Racing back in 2021, his calling card was super speedways. But by 2022, he had already won on an intermediate and had looked pretty solid on them overall. Then in 2023, he started running well at road courses, which were by far his Achilles heel. And now he's starting to do well at the short tracks. He's become an all-around driver, sitting top 10 in points so far. You cannot peg him as just a average, serviceable driver anymore. He's become an above-average driver at this point. I don't know how he manages to do it, but every year he manages to surprise me. Just adding something new to his racecraft. William Byron. I mean, you're the points leader, but again, I pick you to win the championship, so I kind of expect that out of you. Todd Gilliland. Yeah, even if you take the 10 points penalty from the Daytona 500 away, he would still be below Zane Smith in points, and I had him as the flag bearer, or the #1 guy for front row. So yeah. Riley Herbst. He started out the season pretty solid, and while I didn't expect him to maintain that level of consistency in the long run, the fact that he is performing this badly compared to Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, who are playoff bound right now, it really puts Riley in a bad place. Hell, people are joking out loud that 23XI is still a 2-car operation because of how forgettable Riley looks on the racetrack. That's just how embarrassing it is. I was not expecting anything out of him, granted. But again, when your two teammates are running this well, it really puts you in a bad spot. Zane Smith. Drop to here or here. I mean, the fact that he's been the closest to a bright spot front row has had this year, it's reason enough for me to put him this high. Albeit barely. He's only like sitting 25th in points. I'm only putting him here because I didn't expect him to be, the best driver of the 3 front row cars. I expected Todd Gilliland to be that guy, but the fact that Zane Smith has been, he is surprising. Although his position in the points is not really that surprising. It's kind of like right where I expected him to be for the most part, but him being the #1 guy at front row, it's the main reason why it's a surprise. Yeah. Cole Custer. I didn't think Haas factory team would struggle this much in the Cup Series right off the bat. They're doing fine in Xfinity, yeah, as always. But in Cup, they're running so bad, they don't have a single top 20 finish yet. Granted, I didn't think Haas factory would light the world on fire or anything, but I did expect them to be, at the very least, be a top 25 team at worst. Sometimes, maybe even, and even then, at worst, like top 30 in points or top 25, 25th to 30th, because, it's the 41 car, the same 41 car that Gene Haas ran back when he was with Stewart Haas, so I kind of expected them to run like the 4th wheel that they were back then. But yeah, they've been worse than that. 2nd worst among the full-time Cup drivers. Really stinks. John Hunter Nemechek. It seems like him and his teammate Eric Jones have flip-flopped, because so far he's running how I expected Eric Jones would run. Now granted, John Hunter, he did have a similarly solid start last year, but he struggled the rest of the way and he finished dead last among full-time Cup drivers in points. But still, he's holding steady so far, and you never know, maybe this year could be different. So far, he's definitely surprised me. And on that same token, Eric Jones has disappointed me. Yeah, like I said, I expected him to be the flag bearer for this legacy team, but He struggled while John Hunter has taken over that mantle. No top 10 so far this year. And he also got disqualified at Martinsville despite finishing outside the top 20 in that race, if I recall correctly. So yeah, no good at all. Tyler Reddick, not much to say about you. It's gonna drop you here. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I guess you could say he's been surprising because he's usually a 20th to 25th place guy, not really competing for a playoff spot. And right now he is 18th in points, but even then I sometimes forget that he's a full-time Cup driver, so yeah. Alex Bowman, yeah, not much to say there. Cody Ware, I'm not expecting much out of you anyways. Ty Gibbs. And here we have, in my opinion, the biggest disappointment so far this year. Terrible start to the season. At one point he was sitting outside the top 30 in points. Now, he has turned it around as of late, I'll admit, and he's currently on a nice little streak of 3 consecutive top 15 finishes that have put him back in the top 20 in points. So it's not all doom and gloom. But regardless, I did not expect him to be sitting this low on points 25% of the way through the season. I had him consistently running top 5, top 10 and competing for wins, not necessarily winning them, but showing legit race winning speed. You know, similar to how he started 2024. I thought he would build off of that, especially with a new crew chief, and while he might turn it around and go on a tear later on in the year, safe to say, I've been way off the mark so far. Ryan Preece, second biggest surprise of the season, in my opinion. Many people thought he would be the third wheel at Roush and run 25th, while his teammates would be solidly in the playoff hunt, but he's holding steady so far. Michael McDowell. I guess you could argue he's been surprising because that 71 was a 30th place car with Zane Smith last year. But again, I knew that team was going to improve with McDowell at the helm. Maybe not this much, but Spire and Front Row are pretty similar in terms of results and performance, so this is kind of a wash for me. Let's see. Carson Hocevar. Carson. When he finished second at Atlanta, I really thought this would be the start of something special, but he hasn't scored a single top 10 ever since. And it's been for a variety of reasons, either wrecks or a blow motor, or in the case of Bristol last 2 weeks ago, his pit crew messing up the money stop. Either way, 25th in points, the worst of the 3 Spire cars, when everyone, myself included, expected him to be potentially fighting for a playoff spot. It's a massive disappointment. Dude's really going through the sophomore slump right now. Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG. Both rookies this year have been disappointing, which is saying something, considering I wasn't expecting much out of them in the grand scheme of things. But for SVG specifically, I expected him to improve as the season went on. You gotta remember, he ran a part-time Cup schedule last year, so he knows how to get around most of these venues. And yet, he's sitting an abysmal 34th in points. Worse than Riley Herbst, who's not doing too hot either. And I had SVG winning Rookie of the Year because I believe he will be able to figure it out thanks to his racecraft and natural talent. So even if he struggled, I thought he would be running like top 25 or top 30 at worst. But with only one top 20 finish on the oval tracks, yeah, that's not cutting it. And finally, Daniel Suarez. Another driver that I had in the playoff hunt that's sitting outside the top 25 in points right now. Well, I didn't necessarily have him making the playoffs straight up, as I thought he would need to win, and I didn't think he would be able to do it this year. I did expect him to be the usual 15th to 20th place driver that's always in the playoff hunt though, until the very end. And if he happened to make it, it would be either by squeaking his way in on points or by pulling off a miracle win and locking himself in. And he hasn't been that. Only one top 5 so far this year that could have been a win, but he got outrun by Josh Berry in the end at Las Vegas. And while you could argue that Trackhouse has been slowly regressing ever since making the Championship 4 in 2022, they're still a mid-pack team. And Suarez, as well as his teammate SVG, have been anything but. Obviously, I had a bit higher expectations for Suarez, so he has been a massive disappointment so far. So, there you go. That's my take on the first quarter of 2025 and how I feel the drivers are performing relative to my own expectations. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. We're on the road to 1K before the end of the year, so every bit of your support helps. Also, turn on post notifications to get more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next race.